welcome to another episode of the Cuddlepunk podcast. I am your host, the mastermind, the dumbest girl alive, Veronica Vex. With me today, you know her as the former bassist from Dreamwell. Her debut album under her new name, I Will Be Clouds in the Morning and Rain in the Evening, comes out tomorrow as you are watching this. Ameokama, I searched it before this to make sure that I was going to be able to say it correctly.
I'm surprised that you found a pronunciation because I'm pretty sure I made it up.
The album comes out on the 7th. I was listening to it this past week at work. This is a very early, very clear top contender for the year already. If this is what we're getting at the beginning of the year, I'm very excited for how 2025 is going to go.
Hell yeah, no one else released albums, so I can win.
Exactly. I was listening to the record. I'm hearing a lot of this is just what I'm hearing. I would love to get your like specific influences, but I'm hearing a lot of Bjork. I'm hearing a lot of like Code Orangey type stuffs and adventures as well. That's really what I was getting from the I am with a girl in a car. I am kissing a girl in a car. However, that's what's the name of that song? I'm so sorry.
What is that song? I am driving a car with a cute girl and pretending that the world isn't ending.
I'm
It's
as
cool.
long as you're also confused about your song
Oh yeah.
titles. Okay. And another thing that I heard a lot in the album is I don't know if you're familiar with Ibaraki, which is Matt Heafy from Trivium. It is his black metal project that came out a little
I think
while
I have
ago.
listened to that, yeah.
It like just the atmospheric side of things. There is kind of like an atmospheric black metal type thing going on with this record. It is incredibly vibey. I want to know more about the specific influences on the record.
Hell yeah, yeah. That touches on of a lot of things. I mean, obviously when you listen to the album, there's a lot going on. But yeah, you mentioned Bjork and like I am a Bjork listener. I've honestly been listening to more of Bjork now than I was before I was writing the album, which is interesting. But I think Bjork is an important influence because she's influenced like a lot of what I was listening to like 5 or 10 years ago was kind of the mid 2010s like experimental singer-songwriter types like Chelsea Wolfe, like Julia Holter, um, Marissa Nadler, Grouper, people like that. And I think that like basically every experimental artist in the 2010s like undoubtedly owes a lot to Bjork. So indirectly, big Bjork influence. I do listen to a lot of I was influenced by a lot of women who do vocals in heavy bands as well. Just because that's like the background I come from is heavy music, and so I was always drawn to it when there was other women in the band. So like Oathbreaker, Julie Christmas, artists like that who mix in like screaming with singing, but their vocal style is all kind of more on the feminine side, even the screaming. Oh, and I'm driving a car. I was influenced by a lot of like dream pop, shoegaze. It's like Hum, Slow Dive, Slow Crush, all the slow bands, the slow adjective bands. I really wanted it to sound like a shoegaze slash dream pop song performed and written by a heavy band. So I also have to mention Bleach Cross, who we toured with when I was in Dreamwell, because they basically are a band of heavy musicians who have like a dream pop type band. Um, and I really like that sound of just the when even when I had like a musician who plays heavy music plays a different style, you can kind of hear it in the guitar work and the drums. And I was really trying to capture that.
I love how throughout the record, if there's one motif that's being played with a lot, it's this presentation of this god like figure that she's either possessing you or coming into contact with you in some way. What is the I have my theories, but I'd love to know what the like representation of that figure is what you're trying to get across there.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a good observation. And like a lot of that was arrived at very organically. When I set out to write this album, the only thing I really set out to do was to be introspective about it. Um, so there's kind of two fields of, I guess, mythology that I was drawing from. One was Japanese yokai. So one of those being Ameona, who Ameokama is based on that, and Ameona is the goddess of rain. Um, and that's the main figure in the title track, "There will be clouds in the morning and rain in the evening." Is basically this goddess of rain who summons rain wherever she goes, by licking her hand, and she turns other people into similar rain goddess or demon type figures by the way like a vampire would. So a lot of metaphor there, as you can imagine. The other figure that the other yokai that appears is Izanami, who's the goddess of death, who's named explicitly in the song title. And her story is similar to like the story of Orpheus and Persephone, where she dies and goes to the underworld, and her husband Izanagi goes to rescue her, but she eats the fruit of the underworld, and the fruit makes it so she can't return to the living world, and like her entire like skull rots out. There's like maggots in her eye sockets. She's just like rotting, but she's still like kind of like a zombie type creature, and Izanagi arrives to rescue her from the underworld and is like, nope, can't do this, and runs away horrified. Um, Izanami's obviously feeling a little rejected by this, and she plots to get revenge by trying to take the lives of 1,000 people a day. Uh, so it's just really metal.
That's extremely
Um,
fucking metal. I you would be shocked at the amount that the story of Eurydice and Orpheus has followed me throughout my life. I'm shocked that this is the first time that it's coming up on this show.
oh yeah, and like I feel like these stories are reoccurring because they're just kind of like motifs in humanity. They're figures that reoccur regardless of like culture. Uh, they're just like certain tropes that appear, and I feel like those are always ripe for songwriting and metaphor and relating to one's own life. Another thing that Izanami does is, in order to meet her quota, she tries to lure people to their death, um, by like basically convincing them to commit suicide. And so, again, ripe for a metaphor. And I think those both of those, it's about those goddesses, but also how those a lot of it is me talking about myself, but as like a dialogue with them, as like a relationship with them. And so the song Izanami is a lot of my own. It's about basically Izanami arrives to my room when I'm younger and is in the corner. I just see her out of the corner of my eye, and as I get older, she talks to me more and more. I see her more and more often. And she's basically grooming me into a relationship so that she can kill me eventually. And that's what that song's about.
Frankly, I'd expect nothing less from the person who produced the Split Jaw EP.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome, awesome fucking band. That was a blast to work on as well. So those are the two main ones where those figures appear. There's in the first track, My Fears Have Become Fetishes. I wrote that one last. And because of that, I already knew, like I wrote it like last. Like the songs are like all the other songs are like recorded already. The lyrics were done. Um, so I really had like I could see what the rest of the album was going to be like, and I did a lot of foreshadowing in that song of just small like hints to the rest of the songs on the album on that one. So you can probably get a little bit of that there. There's the line the moon was howling in my throat and I tore apart my skin to set her free. And that one was a reference to it was an experience I had doing meditation. This was in mid early 2020, as you can imagine, a lot of introspection happening around that time.
Hmm.
Also around the time I started transitioning. Um, and I was just trying to like sit with my thoughts and my feelings, which is it's kind of the process of mindfulness meditation, and observe whatever came up. And usually it would be like I expect some sort of like just kind of normal thoughts, realizations, needs come up. And that day, it just felt like my head was just full of blood-curdling screaming the entire time I was meditating. And so I meditated on that more and more. And I ended up seeing that as a sort of like repressed archetype or repressed energy that I felt I wasn't allowed to express. And I made a point after that to try to familiarize myself with that part of myself. Because most of those things within us that feel evil are actually just repressed. And so by meeting its needs and giving it a means to express itself in my personality, um, that became a lot of the basis for how I perform on stage and how I perform in how I perform on my album and create a persona around an artist is just creating like the um it's kind of like feral demonic persona um where it's not I'm not doing anything bad or evil. I'm just expressing this aggressive feral like goth girl energy. So that's a lot of the album was reckoning with these different parts of my personality that I related to either Japanese yokai or some of the figures in like tarot cards.
I love all of that. They're always trying to paint. They really are always trying to paint feral goth girls as just evil, aren't they? They never let us have a break.
Evil complementary for the
Evil
most part.
non-derogatory.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. There is one lyric on My Fears Have Become Fetishes. I was reading along with the lyrics, which thank you again for providing the lyrics. That was very helpful. There is a line in that song, Make You Scream Like a Sissy, spelled Cissy, and I desperately need to know if that was intentional.
Ah, yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Um, the entire that entire stanza leading up to the final line, it was all written together and it was intentionally written to the final line. I'll welcome you to your bad dream, which is actually a direct quote from David Wojnarowicz, who was a queer writer in the 80s who died from AIDS. And he wrote a lot of his stories were compiled into a book called Close to the Knives. And I've been reading through that recently. A lot of it is his own just experiences like traveling and in nature, but also experiencing his friends and eventually himself um, dying from AIDS. And a lot of it is like it's definitely not comforting to read, but it feels like you're like you feels like you're not the first generation of queer people who have been through this. Um, and such a huge percentage of queer people in the 80s and 90s died from AIDS, but there's still, they can never get rid of queer people and trans people. Um, and so reading literature from queer people in past generations has been kind of comforting to feel heard and understood, um,
I think
and
that's
know that
important.
it's
Sorry, keep
it's an
going.
intergenerational struggle.
Absolutely. I think I appreciate that somewhat. Like, it's hard to say positive spin on it, but I do think that as somebody who's been working on music herself, like, I think that any form of protest music, and I do think that the album 100% qualifies as protest music, there needs to be that level, the smallest level of hope, that smallest level of populism in there, because other, like, what are you doing it for? If
Mhm.
otherwise, it's just doomerism.
Yeah, and I definitely thought about that while I was writing this. It was that like it's easy for a lot of protest type music to you hear the words and they don't inspire you to action because they feel empty. Uh, One thing I like about um, Wojnarowicz's writing is how visceral it feels. And that same story where he writes about where he ends the story with that line, "I will welcome you to your bad dream." It's basically about he's reading like a newspaper story about how like gay people aren't considered people and have no rights, and he just feels this rage building up inside of him and how he wants to like break into a suburban home and just like take this like cishet family and like shake them and be like you can't hide from this, like you need to understand my suffering, you can't ignore it. um and so I was trying to capture that in that like in that entire like last stanza of the song with like you will taste my suffering, I will welcome you to your bad dream. um and also tying it back to that kind of like that feral demon energy that's not evil, but it's intense, it's intuitive, it's feral, it's violent. Um, and I think that's like another aspect of that character is that rage towards injustice. And I guess more than anything, I wanted people to listen to this song and feel that energy be awakened in them. Like more like even if there's no words in that song, even if I didn't say a single word, I wanted to feel like I am awakening that energy.
I love the album so much. I am so stoked to be having it come out February 7th. Everybody go out and pre-save it right now if you're listening to this. I want to talk real quick before we get into the bit. One of the reasons why I've been so excited to talk to you is that you are living in my home state of Massachusetts. Where are you from, Mass originally, or is you moved here?
I lived in California for the first 18 years of my life, near Los Angeles, a city called Yorba Linda. It's a pretty bleak place. Yeah, Richard Nixon was born there, so it's just a city that had it like you can feel the evil derogatory in the air.
Absolutely.
Uh, and I eventually moved to Miami, Florida, for college in 2010. Uh, I was there through 2015, and I've been in Massachusetts since then. Currently in Framingham,
Gotcha. Okay.
which is 25 minutes from Boston.
I think you're like on the complete like other side of where I was coming to Boston from because I'm from Marblehead. I'm from the North Shore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I went up to what's it? Gloucester last
Gloucester.
year.
Yeah,
It was really pretty. I went in March with my dad. My mom didn't, or yeah, it was my dad. My mom didn't make it out for that trip, but I went with my dad up there in March last year. Oh no, that was 2023, which is 2 years ago. Oh no. Um, it was really pretty, but it was really, really cold and windy. But and there's good seafood, so it was fun.
For sure. I am very excited to know a little bit more about your time in Massachusetts, or at least your opinions of certain things on Massachusetts compared to a place where I know you love out here in the Midwest, which is the beautiful city of Chicago. When we come back, Aki will be answering some Chicago versus Massachusetts Would You Rathers. We will be right back with more of the Cuddlepunk podcast. Welcome back to the Cuddlepunk podcast. I'm here with Ameokama, aka Aki. We were just talking about how she has been living in the great state of Massachusetts for the past 8 years or so. And I am from the great state of Massachusetts, and I currently reside in a city that I know that Aki is a big fan of, Chicago, Illinois. So, what I have created for Aki is about 5 Chicago versus Massachusetts would you rather questions. Very simple. I give 2 options. You tell me which one you'd rather do or listen to or anything else like that. You're going to start off pretty basic, pretty normal, and then they're going to get more specific and interesting as they go along.
I hope I know enough about Chicago so I don't seem like a poser.
All right. I think you'll be able to answer all of these.
Okay, as long as they're really easy questions.
All right. First of all, Ministry or Killswitch Engage?
Ooh, those were two formative bands for me. Ministry was one of my first shows ever. Killswitch Engage and Ministry are both two of my first shows ever. I'd say Killswitch Engage probably had a bigger impact on me slightly, so I'll go with them.
That's a really good choice. I accidentally saw um Howard Jones perform in 2019 when Light the Torch was opening for Ice Nine Kills. I had no idea that Hojo was in that band, and then he's just okay. That's just him screaming at me. This is awesome.
Yeah,
Next,
yeah, I'm glad he's like doing stuff again, playing shows again.
for sure. Next up, this is a wrestling one: CM Punk or John Cena.
Um, don't know a ton about wrestling. John Cena seems like a pretty cool guy, doesn't he? Isn't he like cool with gay people?
Oh yeah, like he's very cool with gay people.
Yeah, yeah, I'll choose him then.
John Cena for sure. I will say, however, that Punk did tweet once about supporting gay marriage, and somebody replied to him saying that that was bad, and Phil Brooks, CM Punk did tell them literally to kill themselves.
Oh, that's pretty based.
Yeah, they're both listen. They're both good options.
Yeah.
Number 3, Regina's or Giordano's. If you don't know Giordano's, we can switch it out with with just deep dish in general or tavern style.
Oh yeah, I haven't been there, but I've been to fuck, what's the one in near Sub T? Uh
Oh God, Demos.
Demos, yeah, I went to Demos. And so also my unfortunate infliction is that I'm gluten free, which means that my pizza experience is much different, but I still got a really good gluten free deep dish pizza in Chicago. Um, Regina's is great. I did go to Regina's a lot. I actually lived right by the I-90 Regina's for a bit, like
Nice.
on the other
Okay.
side of it. So I would just cross I-90 on the I-90 bridge in Alston to go get an eggplant calzone like every other day. So I do have a soft spot in my heart for Regina's, but I think that was more it was like situational. I don't think any pizza in Boston, maybe a few in the North End, but like there's nothing exceptional about a lot of Boston pizza to me. Um,
It is a New York ripoff at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah, and there is a lot of like mediocre pizza in Massachusetts. So I would take a gluten-free deep dish Chicago pizza for sure. Or Demos, which also they had a gluten-free pizza that wasn't deep dish, but it was just one of those days on tour where I hadn't like eaten anything all day. We just get to Demos and like I get my pizza and I'm like I'm gonna cry because this is so good. Because this is
Demos,
exactly what I needed.
Demos
Yeah.
are Demos are true, whether they know it or not. They are true hardcore legends.
Yeah.
Next up, this is where they start to get a little bit more interesting. Would you rather be called a slur by a Red Sox fan or a White Sox fan?
Probably a White Sox fan. Uh,
Because Red
I
Sox
grew up
fans
with,
mean it.
yeah, and also because I actually so I grew up an Angels fan, and as an Angels fan in the mid that 2000s, like I just have permanent beef with the Red Sox. Even since I've lived here, I still have permanent beef with the Red Sox. I've never been a Red Sox fan while I'm here. Um, Partially because my mom would disown me if I like became a Red Sox fan, and I'm like, it's not worth it. Like she can disown me for something else. Um,
That's really good. That's pretty good.
but yeah, so I just have yeah, I actually have had a, a hatred of the Red Sox the entire time I've been here.
Honestly, love that for you. You're true. You are God's bravest masshole at this point. You have earned your fucking
What's more
stripes.
Massachusetts than like being a fucking contrarian hater?
It's you're one. Do you know the comedian Chris Fleming?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
familiar.
he has a quote that I say all the time. Massachusetts is a neo-puritanical society. What's the neo part? Matchbox 20.
Yeah, I there's so many like weird Puritan laws here, but
Oh my god, yeah.
it's
The
so
no
much fun
happy
to
hour
hate on
thing is
that.
insane.
Yeah, I don't even drink anymore, but like it affects restaurant hours too. Like
Totally.
I can't get a fucking pad thai after like 8 p.m.
This is going to be our last one. This is the longest and I think the most difficult to answer. A Riot Fest attendee is bitching to you about how the Defiant are better than the Wokey Wokey Boss Tones ever will. In order to block him out, you are able to either drink A, two 12 packs of Samuel Adams, or a 750 milliliter bottle of Malort. I know you don't drink anymore, but
Wait, what was the
it,
second one?
750 bottle of you probably stopped drinking before coming to Chicago and haven't tried Malort.
What is it?
Oh my god. Malort is a Chicago exclusive fucking liquor or liqueur. You know Gwyneth Paltrow's company Goop?
Yeah.
So imagine if they tried to make imagine if Goop tried to make Jägermeister like a health shot
Okay.
Jägermeister. That is basically the vibe of Malort. I, Dean is going to be heartbroken that he is not able to give you a shot of Malort.
Honestly, if I'm picturing myself back in my drinking days, like I was a beer drinker. But I love a weird I loved a weird fucked up liquor. Especially like I did like Jägermeister. I'm a licorice defender. So I'll go with the Malort.
I worry that I have made the Jaeger thing may have given you an idea. It is not sweet. It's spicy. It genuinely tastes like garbage water, and I love it so much.
I'm intrigued by it. I'm morbidly intrigued, so I would go for that.
She is choosing the Malort. If you ever, for any reason, wish to take exactly one shot or just get a taste, I will happily buy you that shot or that taste.
I will smell it. I feel like I would get a lot of from the experience by smelling it.
That is a perfect answer. Aki Ameokama, thank you so much for being on this episode of the Cuddlepunk podcast. It has been so lovely. I'm so glad we finally got to talk. Where can people find you?
Uh oh shit. All the sites that suck that I'm trying to use less. I probably post on Instagram most for now, but like I've been on Blue Sky more. I have a link tree that has my Bandcamp on it. Uh, if you wanna support my music in a way that I actually get money from it, you should buy it on Bandcamp when it comes out. Uh, you can pre-order it, and there's a cool shirt up there. So yeah.
For any musicians watching, Aki is also a very experienced producer. She and what is the other person who run the studio?
James.
James. Her and James run a studio out in Massachusetts. Again, they produced the Splitjaw debut EP, Dread's Comforting Embrace. I will include the link to that establishment, which the name
Yeah.
is
New House Studios.
New House Studios.
Yeah.
Will be in the description of this down below, as well as the link to Aki's link tree and everything else that she just
Yeah.
said. If you like this episode and you want to see more, you can. If you like this episode of the Cuddlepunk podcast, please like, comment, and subscribe on all video and audio platforms. If you really enjoyed it, you can go over to the Cuddlepunk podcast Patreon, where we have a bunch of cool stuff for $3 or $5 a month, depending on what your level is. The theme song for the Cuddlepunk podcast is Lose a Turn by Modify. You can find her stuff in the description down below. If you want to Cuddlepunk podcast,
Thank you.